Hello, everyone, and we are live with a super special guest. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. Anthea, take it away.
Hey everyone. Thank you all for being here, and thank you. We have a wonderful Lisa Winston here. We've just had a moment to speak with her, and already I'm feeling the energy. It feels good, right?
So beautiful.
Such a pleasure to connect with you, Lisa. And I know you are I'm going to say a gifted vocalist, because that's what I've seen of you. That's what I've heard from you. A #1 international best-selling author, which is always something really cool. Woo, 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 woo. And you're a TV host, a producer, an international speaker, an artist. And I know you have your artwork here with you today as well, which is really cool. And you're a resilience coach too. So, I mean, just saying all of that is something quite profound, right? It's like, wow, this life, what it can bring us, and to be able to speak that and say, this is what you do, I feel so blessed. So thank you once again for being here, Lisa. And so shall we open this up so you can tell us a little bit about yourself, give us a little bit of a backstory, and we can take it from there?
Yeah, how much time do you have?
Oh, we have all the time. As much as you need, sweetie.
First of all, I'm honored and grateful to be here, you guys. You are amazing. I love your energy. And I know you said all that stuff, but it's so funny when I listen to it, I'm like, is that me? You know, I'm like, I'm still a normal person. I've got problems like everybody else. You know, I'm me. I'm just doing what I'm called to do. And I, when I hit the bumps, I keep moving. So
that's the trick.
Yeah. Backstory, gosh, you know, I have people asking me that, and I used to talk about it a lot, but I've really gotten more into, like, you know, getting into the high vibe realm. And so I'm going to sum it up for everybody. Okay. My life was yuck. You know, from the minute I came onto the planet, I was fearful. I was molested at 5. I was gang raped in college. I had horrible things happen to me. I was always fearful. I felt fearful. I was a sensitive, and nobody knew it. So, right. I never fit in. And so that really made my journey tough. Through high school into my adult life, I had, you know, 2 very toxic marriages. I had a daughter who struggles because of that, and another long relationship where I lost my house to wildfire, was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 months later. And then just after all this, because after all that, I wrote my book, Your Turning Point, right? That was a big turning point. And then Joe and I got together, and that was we could talk about that later, how that all happened. That was definitely LOA for sure. But, you know, then I got hit with Lyme disease, and he was going through a horrific, it's almost 3 years because it's not completely over yet, divorce. And then COVID.
Wow.
So, you know, it's been a hard ride for everybody, but the bigger picture is this: we're all here for a purpose. And my big saying is that life challenges are not here to define you, but to refine you. And so we can either be victims of fate, which I don't believe we are. And LOA has a lot to do with what we attract. It also, you know, there are also different components to that don't make us responsible, right? We're not in control of everything. But we're here to learn lessons. We're here to learn how to be in flow. And my logo now is a tree that bends, because resilience isn't about, you know, toughen up and get through this stuff. It's about adaptability. It's about fluidity. It's about, you know, those trees that are in the middle of a hurricane, and they bend. They might even really bend a lot, right?
But they stand, they bounce.
But they come back. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's really about going with the flow. And I'm not saying it's easy, but you can do it.
No, and thank you for sharing that with us, Lisa. It's very powerful.
Short enough.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, you really just combined it all, and it could, you know, it probably resonates with so many people out there, because so many people, and including myself, where I've gone through certain things in life, and you think that nothing's going to turn around for you, and you feel, and just hearing you say those things and what you've experienced, but to the opening of what we spoke about, to who you actually have become, it's a really good indicator to show that it doesn't matter what's happened in your life. You don't, like you said, you're not defined by those experiences. You can still pursue your life and pursue your dreams and desires, and you can still become who you want to become. And with that resilience of going back and forth, and yes, you could near enough hit the ground or even hit the ground, but you can bounce back again. And as hard as it can be, it's possible. And it's not just possible, it's part of life. It's who we are. It's what we're about.
Yeah,
expect miracles. I love that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So so really, out of everything that's happened within your life, do you have a pinpoint side where you started the personal development or even got into law of attraction? Was it something specific that you can remember that made you think, well, okay, this happened to me at the age of 5, or this happened at, college? And was there something particular that you said, right, I need to now understand, what is this about?
That's a great question. And that's what my book is about, turning points. We have small turning points, we have large ones. I always say, I hear things, but it takes me a long time. So the universe has to hit me with a universal 2x4 sometimes. Kind of like, you're not listening, you're not listening. So, right. So I think primarily my marriages were so bad. I didn't know who I was. I was just like, grasping. It was like somebody in fear and clawing their way through life. I mean, I sang, I was on the road for many years and I had fun, but I drank, and I was just, a stupid kid trying to find my way, looking for love in all the wrong places. And my marriages were a disaster. And it was because I kept picking the wrong people, right? There were red flags all over the place. So I think really when I was in that last 14-year relationship, I didn't want to get married again. And that was also a toxic relationship. What happened was if you saw pictures of me 10 years ago, I looked half dead. I had no sparkle in my eyes. I was beyond unhappy. I was miserable. And even before the fires, I have to tell you guys, a year before I lost my house to wildfire, I started reading. I don't know if you guys remember Lynn Grabhorn. She's no longer.
Oh, totally. Yes.
That book changed my life, Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting is what it was called. I also was reading Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer. I started doing Qigong and spending hours a day doing Qigong. And so I was called, I knew in my heart I was here for a greater purpose, but I didn't know what it was. And with all the junk I had in my life, I was like, oh my God. So a year before the fires, there was a part in Eckhart Tolle's book that talks about dying to self before you die, losing your attachment to things, right? So that was my prayer, you guys. I get goosebumps when I say it. Dear God, please take away, just my attachments, help me to let go, help me to die to self. A year later, I lose everything I have.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Be careful what you wish for, hey?
Yeah, and be careful what you pray for. Are you really willing to go through the experience? But I spent a lot of time on my knees, and I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. I went through being a born Christian. I was a Messianic Jew. I was in everything, trying to figure out, the whole thing. But I had a relationship with spirit, whatever that meant. I just felt that, and I couldn't get to it. I was so miserable. So I was just kind of putting my hands out in surrender and saying, help me. So that whole experience of the fire, the breast cancer, actually all that really made me go into present moment awareness, because I had lost everything. And so day by day I was going to treatment, rebuilding. But that was the big turning point. And in fact, it was so big that I got more into my practice, which my partner thought I was a wacko doing Qigong and all this energetic stuff, spiritual stuff. But literally, it propelled me into a point where I made a decision to finally leave after we rebuilt the house. Because, you're waiting to get back into your house after the fire and you think, oh, it's new and it's amazing. And I walked in and I was like, this isn't my house. It didn't feel familiar. So everything was wonky. And I think maybe 2 or 3 years after that is when I got hit with an intuitive download that I was supposed to leave and go off and find my life purpose. And my daughter, I think, was 18 at the time. So, so that was I think the biggest turning point for me. And as you can see, it was kind of like all divinely orchestrated. It was all. I was about to say
divine timing, right?
Yeah.
Massively. So, just as you was explaining that, I was just thinking to myself, wow, as soon as you said your daughter was 18, to me, that was divine timing.
Yes. Yes.
because had it been any earlier than that,
Yeah.
you probably, you wouldn't get, you probably, not that you wouldn't have got the strength, but the mindset could have been completely different. The strength wise could have been different. The thought process would have been different, because I know myself, when my children before the age of 18, I was thinking very differently. Once they hit 18, I had this super strength all of a sudden. I could do things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
another thing happened. Just I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
No,
but
go
I
for
want
it.
to share with everybody. So it's law of attraction, but it's also, like you said, divine timing, because I lost my house in the wildfire. It was actually where we lived, the fire conjoined with the San Diego, the utility company. And so all the power lines were down. And that's why it came from the canyons into our neighborhood and burned our neighborhood down. And so they were having lawsuits. And my partner was like, no, we don't need to do that. I'm like, why not? We just go for it. So I got him to do it. We applied for that. And I don't know, like a year later, we got a huge check. And so I had enough money to leave that was aligned with when I made my decision. And there was really nothing I did except I took action.
Yes. Yes. Action.
So powerful.
Yeah.
That is, when you take action in alignment with your intuition and what spirit is telling you. Absolutely. How awesome.
That's a missing component, right? For most people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so on point. It's a massive thing that I know we've spoken about before many times, where with the law of attraction, people do just, they get confused in the sense of they need to meditate, do all these things and just sit in peace, but actually missing that point of you actually need to take the action. And it's the inspired action, isn't it? It's not just jump up and down and there's action happening. It's actually, you're actually going towards and walking and speaking and acting towards what you want to do next, and not speaking opposition to what you want, and actually align with what you want. So once you made your mind up, it's like, look, a check, the right amount of money came through for you to, and that probably gave you the power inside you, and that feeling to say, I can do this even more so. Like, it's such a powerful story, Lisa. Like, honestly, you've given me goosebumps throughout this. Amazing. Like, I know it's something that obviously wasn't the greatest thing for yourself in the feeling of what you're going through and the experiences, but to be able to share that today and for other people to hear that story.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like, really something else. So thank you again for sharing that. Okay. Ladies, anything you'd like to add there?
I think what our audience would probably love to know is how you kept going. What is the secret behind your ability to have a turning point and go forward, instead of, because the only alternative to devastation is to lie down and give up. So there's really no choice. You unless you're planning to kill yourself, which, you got to go forward. So what did you do? What could you tell our audience to do?
Well, I want to tell people, we were talking about action. There's still practical steps we have to take. We can talk about miracles and spirituality, but we are also 3D human beings. And so there are these practical things we have to do. For me, I really was nobody special. I mean, I was screwed up my whole life. I was searching, groping, and I was taking everything that I could find, that lifeline, and reeling it in and taking the steps. I think one of the biggest things about me, though, is that no matter what's going on, I don't give up. Like, I'm going to find a way. And one of the big things, you guys, which I know that you talk about all the time, is intuition, following your inner guidance. Mm-hmm. You know how a lot of times we get guidance to like get off the freeway or whatever, and we don't do it, and then we run into a big accident in front of us. Well, I had a couple of experiences where I actually put my daughter's life in jeopardy because I hadn't followed an intuitive hit that I got. And that changed everything for me. I was in tears. It was pretty profound. And so that changed everything, because it was like, oh my God, what that voice that I hear is, I can trust it. It's true. It's guiding me. And it's scary to trust, you're so used to trusting what your mind gives you, which is a bunch of BS. All it knows, it's on a loop, right? It knows is the past. It doesn't know the universal mind. So getting to, and that's what my book really talks about, processes to start opening up your intuitive guidance, the trusting, hearing it, knowing what it's saying, knowing if, it's a yes or a no, following it, and that not giving up. So many people are so hopeless. And like you said, people commit suicide, and it breaks my heart because we all have hit rock bottom. I've hit it more than anybody wants to mention, but we have a power within us. We have, Joe and I were just talking today about faith, because when I had, when I hit Lyme again, I wanted to give up my faith. I'm like, I don't want to believe in you anymore, whatever you are. Right. And then when I started thinking back over my life, like you were saying, when I started looking at my life and going, well, was there anything really there for me, And I saw this divine thread. I thought, there are people that showed up, synchronicities, opportunities, like all these things that I didn't control, right? And I thought, God, if I give up my faith, then I have nothing. I have nothing. I can't give up my faith because something's been there for me all along. So you have to tap in. You don't have to, but you get to tap in to that intuition, amp up your faith, and then have an attitude of, you know what? I'm not going to give up. No matter how many, look at Walt Disney, look at all these people, right?
Yeah.
They tried to build their business and they failed over and over and over and over. And something I just want to share with you guys is that when I made a painting one day, right? And I said to Joe, it was a mistake. And he said, I just saw a quote. There are no mistakes. Mistakes are just conscious intentions, which I love. Right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's
So
really
looking
cool.
at things a different way. And it's like, you can find your way out of the darkness, but you have to pick yourself up. You have to get to that core fire that you have, because we all have it, and find a way to be in alignment with that and keep moving, no matter how many times you screw up. I mean, we all screw up, right? And life keeps happening.
Right.
So we're not just going to quit.
Right.
Yeah. In our humanness, we're splendidly imperfect, but the more we tap in to connecting to our higher self, pure love and light, and aligning with the energy that creates worlds, right? I mean, that's where the magic happens. That's where the power is.
Well, I'm looking at your background right now, right? Really cool about that. I got emotional when I saw it because I love that you have that up there, because that's such a huge message. We think we don't have the power to get through stuff.
Yeah.
We're living on a ball that revolves in outer space.
Yes.
We talk about going to outer space.
Yes.
We live in outer space.
Yes.
We
Talk
have
about
a heart
miracles.
that beats without a battery. We have lungs that breathe that we don't even breathe. It's like, how can we think that there's nothing greater? I didn't just plop onto the planet, from, I don't know, unless they took, I took a rocket ship from Sirius or something. I don't know. Come on, we are not powerless victims of fate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry, but I saw
Sorry.
that.
No, it's great. No, it's great. We love it. Yeah.
It's
definitely.
really good. Yeah. And I think that we all get to have our tantrum. Like you said, I don't want this Lyme, but it's not like you turn around on a dime with these turning points. They're pretty tough. So, you lose a house, holy crap. You get to whine and bitch and moan and then pick yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guru I followed when I was in my late teens and early 20s. And she used to say how there were times on this ascetic path that she was on that she would storm the heavens. It was like a pressure cooker where she was letting some of the pressure out and just like, God, I don't understand, and then she was able to give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a day, a week, whatever you need, and then come back.
I love that, because that's about honoring your emotions.
Yes.
When I talk about being a high vibe guide, it's like we can do things that are high vibe, but we have to honor what's coming up, because if we shove them, then we have just a whole new set of beliefs that keep us, sabotaging our lives. So thank you.
And it really does, doesn't it? Because I know that when I first come across the teachings, I thought that I just had to be not in any way, I couldn't accept my emotions. I had to just be this high flying, Yeah, and push them down, and then when things started to really take a turn, I was in that same situation. But why? I've done everything, I'm practicing, not realizing that actually every time I was feeling, I was not honoring my emotions. I was just suppressing them and thinking that if I suppress them, then they'll go away, because if I just stay happy and high vibe, I'll be okay. Like the happiness, keep shining. The happiness was here, but inside was dying, literally. Like the inside felt like someone was squashing inside. So it's a really interesting point there, because I can imagine how many people have come across that and actually feel they don't actually say yes to their emotions and feel what that is, because the way to change our beliefs really is to actually accept the emotion that it is, understand that emotion, and then ask what we would prefer to believe and what could feel better for us, right? And definitely I learned that from Dr. Joe.
Yes, for sure.
You also attract
absolutely.
You attract your dominant vibration. So if you're shoving, you're resisting, right? You're not have the flow to attract what it is that you want. So we are energy. We are vibrations. Law of attraction. So
totally important to move through those, you know, when you're feeling triggered and that stuff that's coming up, to move through it, to be able to release it instead of pushing it down and holding it in. Then it stays in our energy. And I just wanted to say a quick shout out and hello to Maquette joining us, and to Cassandra as well. And Cassandra has a great question. What if I have a busy schedule and I don't want to become more tired by doing more, but I want to change? And while you ladies, Lisa, while you meditate on that question, an immediate thought that came for me, and that really has been strong in my spirit lately, is how powerful it is not to shift into the doing, but to into the aligning with ease and flow, right? Like just energy.
Wow, that's exactly, you know, we are all doers. We just think that if we do more, we're going to have more. But what we end up doing is being exhausted by the end of the day, and we're not aligned with anything good, right? So, I mean, one of the biggest things I want to share with your audience is, again, I do Qigong and I do Donna Eden's energy medicine. And I started that when I was when I collapsed with Lyme. But the thing is that we are energy. And I know a lot that the big thing is that we have to commit. How badly do we want our life to change? Because if we really do, then what are we willing to do to take action, some kind of action? And, you know, it takes a while to create a new habit, right? And we're all, we're going to do this, this, and this, right? But if you're overbooked, you're overwhelmed, you have too much going on, literally, guys, you can put your hands together. When you do the namaste position and you rub your hands, your palms together, you're balanced, you're aligned. You can do all kinds of, you know, in Qigong, you kind of like hold a hand here and one over your solar plexus, close your eyes and you breathe. I mean, whatever, you can just close your eyes, just step back and say, you know what? I need to align with something that's more peaceful, because then you can hear your inner voice when you're in the midst of a million things. You're beating yourself up, first of all, for being too busy, right? And then you're beating yourself up because you might have one new thing you want to try every day, but you're not doing it. So just be still, learn to be still. And that can be just sitting in a chair, taking a walk, doing something to calm down.
Love that.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that brings up another really interesting question that we had, which was, are there any daily habits and routines that you find super powerful on your path?
Yeah, I love that question. Thanks for asking. Number one, manage your energy. Guys, when I did Qigong and I did it for 3 hours a day, who has time to do that? I don't. So I like that. Right?
How true.
It's good to have a toolbox filled with those things, right? So when I do Donna Eden's energy medicine, right, I do this. You just do part of the part of the routine. You tap here, then you tap here, you know, and you tap here for your immune system. You tap here. So you can take pieces. Like, you don't have to sit and do anybody's full routine. Do something to get the energy in your body moving. And then one thing I've really been working on that you can do any time in the day is future gratitude. Gratitude's
I love that.
But
Yeah.
future
Love that. Yeah.
gratitude. I have a friend who is now making 7 figures. She went from 0 to 7 figures. She's the mother of 7. She's an artist.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she has 15 notebooks filled with future gratitude. When
Wow.
you, I'm getting buzzing again, guys. That's always a good sign.
Oh,
Wow, I got
You know-
goosebumps.
another tool.
Woo-hoo, we love it. Another one in the bag.
Your gratitude and you know, you're getting out of bed and you're like, yeah, I'm really grateful for my bed and I'm grateful for my toothbrush, me, right? We don't feel it. But even just taking the action of committing to doing it and then saying it, because I've found that even when you don't feel it, if you keep doing it as much as you don't feel it, eventually it creates momentum. And then you get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, like you all of a sudden this world opens up, right? You see so many things. So act as if it's already happened, guys. Write it down. I am so happy and grateful that my business has taken off and people love my artwork and they're going gaga for it. I mean, even when you do that, can you feel that? Can you
Yeah,
feel
Yes.
the energy
totally.
change that?
Yes.
You can
Yes.
just make it till you make it.
Yes.
You know, and so things like that, they're little tools. Future gratitude and gratitude, as you already know, guys, is like one of the highest vibrations you
So
can
good.
create. And most times we're just busy complaining about what's not working.
Or too
Yes.
focused on it and it just
Yeah.
sucks the energy and attention. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. You said that meeting Dr. Joe was a law of attraction thing. So I
Yes.
know inquiring minds do want to know.
We really want to know. Like, really want to know.
Well, I love to share it because Joe
Thank
and I
you.
both follow our gut. I mean, to like probably more than most people, right? So I interviewed him in 2017, like in April for one of my
Oh.
summits. And I had about 30 people. I mean, big names. DeMartini was there, a whole bunch of people. And he and I just had this immense energy between us. And then when we were talking, he would say things, right? And I had like almost just like this shift and you could see it and feel it. And then we went our ways. You know, I didn't even know he lived in Texas or anything. And so I think he started following me on Facebook. And about 9 months later, just randomly, I switched from my business coach to another business coach who happened to be in San Antonio. So I signed up for her program and I started flying to San Antonio every couple months to do masterminds with all these people and her. And one day, Joe just reached out to me and said, hey, I'm going to be in the area. You want to have coffee? And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. And I'm like, oh, you know, Joe Vitale from the city. And then it didn't happen. He had an MRI that day. He got back to me and he was like, I don't feel very good. I'm going home. And I'm like, oh, bummer. Okay, well, okay. So I just let it go. Well, about 3 months later, I came back again for one of my masterminds and I reached out to him. And I said, I'm going to be in San Antonio in January of 2018. Would you like to meet? And so we ended up having dinner. And it was so weird because when I met him, it was like I had known him my whole life. You know, it was very, very in sync. And we started talking about ideas for my book. He's the one that really helped mentor me and get me aligned with my book and my thoughts. And then I went off. And then, guys, this is your intuition. So I'm in San Diego, right? And all of a sudden I had seen my mother. I went to my 40th class reunion in Pennsylvania, came home, and I got this hit. You need to go live with your mom. And I'm like, I was just there. Like, what? So I said to my roommate at the time, I said, I need to pack up my stuff and leave. And she said, yeah, I got the intuitive hit for that also. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So on faith and on intuition, and that's a big step that most people will not take. I packed all my stuff up. I got in the car and I drove to Pennsylvania, and halfway across the country, my sister calls and says, Mom was just diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer and she's dying.
Wow.
So nobody knew but the universe. I said yes. I'm getting chills again. Drove to PA, lived with my mother till she died in May 1st, took care of her every day. And then I stayed and closed up the house. And so in the meantime, Joe and I were just mentoring, and we were getting to be, you know, we knew we were soulmates of a sort, whether that meant friends, because he was married, right? And so we just worked together. I think I saw him twice in the period of from February to June or something like that. I flew out for a day and we worked on my book together, and we had fun. We like to giggle a lot together. And so anyway, we wanted to work together. We're both musicians, you know, and we both are writing books, and I wanted to do a live event. And so I dabbled in, should I move to Texas to work with him? And I'm sorry, sorry, Texas. I don't like Texas. I don't like the weather or anything about it, right? The chiggers, the scorpions, whatever.
Wow.
And so I played with it. I was called to move here. I moved here, and then I ended up doing a live event with him in Austin called Own the Stage in November of 2018. It was September or October, November, one of those, I don't remember. But at that point, we knew that there was something else greater for us. And we felt that we were brought together for a greater purpose. And the funny thing is that Joe was married 20 years the first time, and his wife ended up dying.
Oh.
His second relationship, he was married for about 10, but he was with her for 20. And he's a loving, if you know him, and you do, he's a loving, generous, caring, beautiful being that never wants to hurt anybody. But he knew that he was not called to stay. He was, they were having trouble in their marriage anyway. And that's according to him. If you ask the other source, that's not the case. Yeah. And so he decided to leave, and it's history from there, but I mean, It was funny because he's a guy who's, number one, he's incredibly loyal to people that he loves and he's with. He is loyal to a fault. And so to have somebody that's famous, that has been in a relationship for 20 years, who has an estate and cars and, all this stuff, for them to follow their hit because they know they're getting information and they're following it and trusting it. They don't know where it's going. They don't really even like to think about divorcing somebody is painful and hard. To make that decision is huge. And then to get beat up for it for 3 years and, all the money gone. It was like the worst thing for him, but he was the most amazing person on the planet. I've never seen anybody so gets through stuff like that so well. So the point is this: it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you're going through. When you know that you're getting this information, whether you understand it, whether it's propelling you into the unknown. The thing is that we try to take things and figure them out.
Yeah. So powerful right there.
For me to be with somebody like Joe was pardon my French, I don't want to cuss, but it was kind of like a mind F. That's what I call it, because it was like, wait a minute, my whole life I thought I was small. I knew I was here for a greater purpose, but it was a very weird thing that happened. And I was like trying to process it.
Imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird because, number one, I guess I felt, I don't even know what to tell you about that. I was like triggered in a weird way. And it wasn't about his money or it was none of that. It was like, and it was so weird because we didn't even know what was happening as it was happening.
Yeah.
And that's the purity of it though, isn't it? That's the purity, because you don't know it's happening. You just go along with that intuition, as you said, and you're both feeling this energy. You're both moving along. You actually went into work side of things, first of all, because you connected on that level, and then things blossom. And that's what you said earlier on. You just don't know what the universe has planned for you. You don't know.
Well, and I also want to mention this, guys, and it's really important. It's like the law of attraction is great and it's amazing and it works. Unless, of course, you've got karma involved, ancestral stuff, or the universe just sees a bigger picture that doesn't include that, right? But usually it's this or something better, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're still in a human realm. We deal with human emotions. We have human people around us. In the case of his ex-wife, in reality, it's like when you're called and you're in a position like Joe is, and you're called to another relationship or something greater, that's a higher frequency or vibration, he is not who he was 20 years ago when he got together with that relationship. There was nothing wrong with her. They loved each other. There was nothing wrong. It's just that he had grown, he had moved, he had shifted, and she hadn't. And so if the universe calls you to do something that's really big like that, it's going to shake your life up. You're going to get hit with human stuff and emotions and just crazy stuff that's not fair, that's not right. And so I think that's one of the reasons people don't say yes. They're afraid of how they're going to get through it. But again, remember, the how-tos are, the universe's problem, not yours. And if you don't want to grow and be refined, then don't say yes to anything.
Yeah, it's very true, isn't it? So on the back of that, tell us one of the most amazing, I was going to say one of the most amazing manifestation stories, but I think you might have just told us that. Do you have anything other than our Joe, our lovely Joe?
I think that is the biggest one in my entire life. It's just like, it's not even something I dreamed, you know, after being in so many bad relationships, I figured I was going to be alone for the rest of my life, and that suited me fine. And I really didn't know, I had an idea of what I was going to do alone, you know? And so I wanted a relationship if that was possible for me, but I've never cared about money. I've never gone after rich guys, or, you know, anything like that. I'm not a gold digger. So it really hit me out of the blue. And again, it was unbeknownst to me, but I had the intention that I wanted to be on my path, that I wanted to be in service, that I wanted to, you know, have a better life than I had had previously.
Yeah.
I wanted to build my business now. Who I was that. So I feel like when you're more focused on becoming more and where you're going, where you want to go, and that's all you focus on. Because in 2017, I was with so many coaches and I was traveling. I was in leadership training. I was a coach for leadership. I was just like all in. I'm going all in because I'm going to work this out, you know, however it's supposed to do it. And in that time, it's when everything just started moving and shaking, and I wasn't even aware of it. I was just doing my own thing. So I think if you focus on what you want too much, I don't think it comes to you, or it doesn't come to you quickly.
Well, you said something key, which is that you wanted a relationship, but it wasn't your main focus. It was like, that was a vibration inside of you that higher power, subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it, the law of attraction heard you, and you had enough desire for it, but then you were releasing it to the universe and doing your thing and loving yourself.
That's it.
And that's really it, you know?
Yeah. You were focused on loving what you were doing. And that's I really think is the key, that if you're loving your life and like following your path, the amazing things that align from that, you know, those deep desires that you've always had, all of a sudden it's like different things are attracting to you when you're in that energy.
But you talked about desires, and I want to be clear with people. We can have desires, but we also have expectations. Expectation can be looked at two ways, right? You can expect something wonderful to happen, but a lot of times our expectations are, we're impatient. We want it to look the way we want it to look. We want it to happen in the time frame that we want it to happen. And when it doesn't, it's like, well, I'm not going to do this. Law of attraction doesn't work. So the thing is like you said, releasing, letting go, trusting, just moving on, and, you know, minding your own business and doing whatever it is you're doing, and letting go of any expectation, because you don't know what the universe has. You don't know. You can't see it or understand it.
And the world is unknown, isn't it? It's like so many of us, so many people have fear of what's going to happen. They don't want to, like you said, they're not saying yes because they're fearing the unknown, but actually right now is unknown to us. We hadn't met you previous to this. We didn't know what was going to happen. It's all, as you said before, it's that faith, isn't it? Like you answered earlier on. And if you can keep the faith, then that's what keeps you going in life, right? You know, being here right now. I don't know, once we finish this interview, who knows what's going to happen next? None of us know.
No, I always say I could drop on this call and nobody would ever know it, you know? Can I bring up one other thing real quick? I don't know how much time we have.
We have around 20. Yeah,
20 minutes.
Okay, I just want to share with everybody. And I have senior moments sometimes, so bring me back. The Lyme has just really affected my brain in a lot of ways, and plus I'm getting old. But look for the good, right? I want to remind people, like, when I was going through Lyme disease, and you know, we tend to complain because we're scared and we don't feel good, or in any situation, right? We can put our focus in a certain place. And I remember one day when I wasn't feeling well, and during the Lyme journey, it was crazy because I went through a month of the dark night of the soul. And then I decided, you know what, I'm picking myself up and doing whatever it is that I can do. And so I did Qigong energy work. I painted angry pictures. I danced to Jason Mraz. I did all kinds of crazy things, you know, to try to elevate my vibrations, because elevation is key, right? And I did affirmations. But Joe said to me one day, he goes, well, you know, you're complaining about what's not going on. You go, what's not right? He said, well, what's working in your body? And I looked down and I went, oh my God, my nails are going. And from that moment on, that was a shift. Again, we need these like pattern interrupts. That's why it's great to live with somebody who actually gets it, right? Because they can remind, we all need reminders. But the thing is that we're always Okay, you guys already know this because Joe says it all the time, but he says, what are you expecting? Crap or something better?
Mhm.
And so oftentimes we're just
Mhm.
so immersed in our old patterns of looking for what
Yeah.
we're expecting what happened before. I'm gonna, I don't deserve this, or something bad's gonna happen. I know it. And I don't know if you guys know our dear friend Nendi Odlin. She has a book that's called "What If It All Goes Right."
I've heard
You guys
this.
can also get this. It's a great tool. As a matter of fact, Joe and I are on the board of her nonprofit. We believe in it so much. And what she talks about is that we generally in life play the what if down game, right? What if it doesn't work? What if I don't have enough money? What if I don't get better? What if? But when you play, just like with future gratitude, you have to play with it, start it to set the intention. And if you start saying, well, what if it goes right? Or what if I get better faster? Or what if something better comes along that I couldn't imagine? Again, it's elevating your vibrations. And law of attraction is you attract your dominant vibration. So start looking for the good, whether you believe it or not, whether you want to or not. If you want to change your experience, then you have to take action and do something different.
Yes. So powerful.
It's those daily habits, isn't it, also? And you're so right. So many will say, oh, what if this doesn't go right for me? And actually, I think something that I've noticed in my life is the more I focus on what I've got and what I enjoy and what keeps me happy, the little things throughout the day are so amazing. The
Yeah.
silly little things. Like I was saying to Dr. Christina earlier on, I went to a restaurant on Friday and I just said, oh, I want like some like chips with my food. And as I'd said it, I went to go and order it and someone said, oh, I've just got chips and I don't actually want them. There they go, right? And then I said, oh, I would really like a plate because there was some ketchup and mayonnaise in pots. And I thought, oh, I could do with a little plate for that. So I said, oh, I could really do with a plate. As I just finished saying it, a plate came my way. And then I said, oh, I'd really like some water. And before I even finished saying that, someone brought a bottle of water. And it just continued like that all night. And I was like, this is life. This is how, you can experience life this way.
Yeah.
And I remember times that it wasn't like that, but through practicing and using those daily habits and taking that time out in the morning, and like you said, looking down on your body and saying, well, what is working, what is good, that opens up a whole new world, like literally from moment to moment. So I think so many of us look for the bigger picture, don't we? Like, oh, but this hasn't happened yet. But actually every moment, as Dr. Joe says, is a miracle. So being alive, speaking right now, just being able to communicate, and all over the world, as we said from before, right? We're all over the world. Like that in itself is something magnificent and beautiful. And if we can bring ourselves back to say, like, thank you for where we are, and thank you in advance, like you were saying, what a difference it does make to our life. I think it changes so much, and you get to experience better relationships, like you had said yourself. You've gone from these relationships that did not serve you but did serve you in the same breath, right? So it's like the two ends of things. So if people are going through things, I think it's so important to realize that everything's happening for your advantage. So, and something wonderful is coming from that. It's, it might not be right this second, but if you open yourself up and allow, it could be in 5 minutes time. But if you're continuously complaining and continuously saying, well, this stuff doesn't work, I'm not interested, I'm just going to not do anything, or whatever it is, I think you end up blocking those blessings from coming to you minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, so everything we spoke so far, Lisa, has been so powerful. And like just hearing you just makes my heart sing, like honestly.
I have a question, Lisa. Did I interrupt you? Were you going to say
something? No, I finished.
Okay. All right. So, the one thing that used to trip me up, and I think it may be a concern for the audience, is you said that the dominant vibration. And I used to believe that there was a dominant vibration of lack in my life that came from my parents, came from, what I had been living. and that no matter how much I did the law of attraction teachings, it felt as though it was useless. So there probably are people who are concerned, well, I can be positive all I want, I can change things all I want, mentally, feel it, give it to the universe, but what is my dominant vibration, and how do I know that it's not going to sabotage me on the other side?
Well, that's a great question. And, first of all, dominant vibration is, we have the subconscious and we have all those subconscious beliefs. And I know for me, I had fear. I was attracting all these rapes and all these things that happened. They all came from me being afraid. I was like holding on for dear life, waiting for the shoe to drop, waiting for the next bad thing to happen. And so that's what I was attracting. And I love what you talked about, because there is a thing called toxic positivity too, right? And we don't want to be like, oh, hey, everything's great, when it's not. That's not what we're talking about here. I know a lot of people in my life that believe, all they do is focus on the politics and COVID and the world's going to hell in a handbasket, right? And it's kind of like, well, okay, you can choose to do that. That's your choice. You can also choose to do this, but if you want to do that, go ahead and do it. But so for all of us, I think one of the bigger things is, because I got tripped up on this too, Christina. It was like, I was doing everything that I should have done, right? Now, there are different things that come into play. Number one, if it's not happening, it's not the time. Number two, right? We don't see the bigger picture, and we don't always understand what's happening. The universe has its own agenda. And I believe that fully, because I've seen it so many times in my life. But that's when we get to say, okay, I want this or something better, right? Because we're going up the scale, like Esther Hicks talks about, right? When we're down here, we're angry. It makes seem we're not really in a great place, but we're still coming up the scale from where we were, right?
Yes.
So I was doing coaching around beliefs, limiting beliefs, and all we did was focus on beliefs. And I was like, oh my gosh, because that's like an endless hole.
Yes.
It can be.
And I was trying to raise people's vibrations, but when I did that in coaching, then their junk came up, right? And I thought, well, okay, we can't have one without the other. So focus on getting your vibrations higher, no matter what it is. But look for what you're attracting in your life, because that will show you, what's going on in your dominant vibration. If somebody comes into your life that disrespects you, look at that. Or if you have situations come in over and over, and then address it. Like, I'm doing a lot of meditations right now for trauma, and I'm working with somebody on trauma because I have a lot of trauma and past life trauma too. It's kind of like the culmination of it, right? I'm getting to it. You can do tapping. Tapping is a really powerful way.
Yes,
to
brilliant.
get the energy moving. And
We teach that.
I'm buzzing again, guys. Every time I get the buzz, it's a yes. It's just, you can't, like we were talking about earlier, we can't have this stuff happen and resist it or suppress it. Because it's still there, it's still going to come up. You don't need to focus on it, but do something, take some kind of action. Even Joe and I, like when we get stuck, because he does a lot of this stuff too, tapping, Ho'oponopono, all these other things, right? But when we get stuck, we have people that we go to help us see the things that we can't see.
Yes.
So coaches need coaches,
Yes.
people need other people. So you can do some of this yourself, but you can't do all of it yourself, because there's things that you are just not ready, willing, or able to see.
Stuff in your blind spot. Yeah.
Blind spot,
so
right?
powerful.
Yeah. So just know that, your vibrations change daily. Things come up, and you have to address them as they come up. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, get the help you need. Do something to disconnect that pattern interrupt. Stay positive, not toxically positive. Don't go
like not Pollyanna. So, yeah.
Well, but even Pollyanna. Yeah, I mean, Joe's like loves Pollyanna. He was like, she was on a course to, be positive, and no matter what anybody else said. And so there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
That was a great question. I hope that answered it to a certain degree.
I think so. And certainly I want to encourage our listeners, if they have more questions about that, please share it in the group. And but I would love to hear about the writing of your book. It's such a great title.
Yeah.
And obviously it came from personal experience. There's no question about that. So tell us about that and the development.
Oh, thank you for asking. It's so cool to go back and remember all this stuff, you know. When I lost my house to wildfire, I'd lost all my computers. I mean, we had 10 minutes to get out and we lost everything except the
Oh my
dog and the
gosh.
kid.
Wow.
Wow.
But I mean, we walked out without even a toothbrush, and I don't think I even had shoes on because the flames were coming in the garage and everything. So I lost all my computers, and I had, you know how we all start books or ideas and we have everything
Oh,
written
yeah.
down. And so literally all my artwork, all my music for my band, all of my writings, everything was gone.
Wow.
And so at the prompting of my daughter, probably a year later, she was like, Mom, you got to write again and do music again and all that. And I started doing it. So I started getting ideas, but I really lost my steam, you know?
Mm.
And I thought, I knew there was a book in me for the longest time. And people would say, you need to write, you need to write. So a couple of years later, I did a collaborative project with somebody. And it was kind of cool because I wanted to be a published author. I didn't like my chapter after I read it. I was mortified by what I wrote, but it was where I was at the time. And it kind of gave me the beginning of, you know, getting into something. And a lot of people do that. Became a published author. And then I thought, well, this isn't my book. Like, I can't go around really to, you know, do a book signing because this is me and 23 other authors. So then I kept just having ideas. And really and truly, guys, when you are in a space, I have to tell you, I don't always know how it happens. But when I chose to go back to be with my mother and take care of her, and Joe and I, our energy, I guess, was combined a long time ago before we even knew it. There was stuff happening and I was opening. When I got to Pennsylvania to take care of my mother, my vibrations were off the charts. As a matter of fact, I've never had anything happen like that before, where I was so aligned with the divine. I'd be driving down the street and I'd break out into tears and I'd be bawling and I'd pull off the road because I felt the love of the divine. I'm getting emotional. I felt the love of the divine so deeply, and I had never really felt it to that degree. So I was so aligned with, it was just like the universe opened and I was like in heaven, you know?
Mhm.
So everything that was happening was so divinely orchestrated. And that's when you know it's supposed to happen. And so Joe and I got together, we came up with some, you know, titles, chapters, and I would email him back and forth. And all of a sudden it just all came together. I went to live with my mom. I got up every morning. I committed to writing. And having somebody to help you write your book, by the way, is a great idea. Only in the sense of getting your thoughts together, because really it's about getting a title, which you can do later. You can put them all down. Chapters, like, what do you want to talk about? Right. And then when I was there, I channeled the book. I think there were about 2 chapters I got super stuck on, you know, and then I just kind of moved my way through it. But every morning while my mother was dying, I sat there with a cup of coffee and I just channeled this book. Like, sometimes I look through chapters and I go, where did I get that? You know, it's pretty cool. So, and that's when my TV show fell in my lap. Like, all these things were falling in my lap. And so you can sometimes get to that space. I don't think it's something you can, to get that high, I don't think it's something you can force. I think it's something that actually, that's supernatural. That has to happen for whatever reason. That's one of those things where you're just, it's time, you know, it's time. So writing my book was so cathartic. I mean, it was hard, but I was able to look back over at my life and see the lessons. And then I was channeling processes for people to actually go back in, even like back to the womb, you know, really energetic, spiritual things where you have to sit and really feel into what you're getting. And so when I was finished with it, I was really excited because I thought it was good. I mean, I was pretty authentic, almost too much. I was very transparent in certain places. And I thought maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I wanted to have people know me, you know? And so I think the energy's changed. So my next book will be different. It's going to be called Be Brave Enough, just for today. And Joe and I are actually working.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's beautiful.
What a great title.
But you know, everything happens in its time. And even if you write a book that you think, well, that doesn't really apply anymore, it's still part of your journey. And your message is important. So
I've done that. I've written a book that I thought doesn't apply anymore, and I've just been pondering, what do I do with it? Do I go in and edit and change, or do I leave it? And it's been playing on my mind for like a year and a half now, and I will make a decision about it. I've just kind of left it there, but I've started other books. So, but yeah, that's really powerful to hear that, the way it does come together. And I know I was actually with Dr. Joe and Chuck Pennington, they done a book together, The Five Questions, and I was part of that, watching that happen. And that was quite profound to be part of that, to hear from beginning to end how they just took the whole journey of the book. And what a great energy them to have together as well. It was brilliant. So yeah, it's if people do want to write a book, it's definitely something that you should get going and do, right? Take that action.
Time's short, and you're going to help somebody out there needs to hear your message.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And none of us here are going to write 85 books like Joe, but
no. No, I don't think we will.
Beautiful.
But get your big one out, the big one, the important one.
Yeah, for sure.
What a beautiful gift to be able to transmute messages that can help people in their life, and the power of picking one book that speaks to your soul and helps you change your complete path of life. It's so powerful. So you've done so many amazing things. You have the most gorgeous and beautiful energy. Really such a blessing. Yeah, we super love you. Do you have anything else you want to?
What?
What's so beautiful is how much you're just so yourself.
So real.
Yeah.
So nice, isn't it?
But your energy just shines. It's just
I'm shining because of
glowing.
you. Because I just think super authentic that I'm struggling right now with Lyme and some other things, you know? And so again, life happens. I mean, law of attraction isn't going to just make everything perfect all the time. It's just not going to. Life happens. We have ebbs and flows. And so, there's a purpose for all of it. So I think when we lie about our situation and try to show up all rosy. Now, when I get on calls like with you guys, I get jazzed. This raises my vibrations when I do this.
Doesn't it though? Exchanging energy.
Yeah. So, it doesn't deny what you're going through. It doesn't make you less than, it makes you human. And just tend to raise your vibes.
Yeah.
I've been saying a lot.
Sorry, Melissa.
I've been saying a lot lately that I'm just as thankful for the teachings during the times that are challenging, maybe even a little more so than when I've manifested a dream coming true, because I feel like I can count on these timeless teachings to carry me through. And it gives us the power to see how to navigate all of the stuff. If you want to attract your desires, you can do that with these teachings. If you're going through a challenging time, you can apply the teachings and shift your focus and refocus and have the power within to see things transform.
Absolutely.
So it really is such a blessing to have these teachings. And so do you have any final thoughts to share with everyone before we wrap up?
Oh, so many things.
I know, we could stay all day, right? I love it.
Yeah. A couple of things. Number one, what's coming to mind, I loved The Secret. That was one of the most life-changing movies for me. But I remember they talked about the big genie in the sky. And I thought, well, it's not exactly like that. It can be, things can happen. But again, we need to really get out of our own way, take the actions that we need to take, be patient, and allow things to align. I mean, I don't like thinking that God is, or a spirit or the divine or source or whatever you want to call it, is like, you do this and I'm going to, no. I mean, I have respect, right? The universe controls a lot of things that I can't control. I mean, I'm going to leave the planet one day and I have no control over that. So that, and then also, guys, you have so much more power than you know. You are so much more courageous. You have you have the universe at your disposal. Start thinking about the miracle that you are, and do your future gratitude and your gratitude, and tap into your power. You're not powerless. Seriously, you are so loved. You're here because the divine loved you, not because you just you were like part of the Big Bang Theory. You know what I mean?
Yes, thank you for saying that.
Yes. Now you have a free gift for our audience, I remember, and you also I don't know. Anthea, you
Oh,
said
it was the first 2 chapters of your book.
The first 2 chapters
Yes.
of my book, and you can get it
Yes.
on Kindle for 99 cents too. I like having.
Oh,
a book in my
wow.
hand.
Yeah,
Lovely.
we'll pop all the links in.
Yes.
For everyone.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Will
definitely.
you put the link, or should I give it to them for the 2? It's also on my website. Go to
Yes.
lisawinston.com and then just go to author, and you can pop in your email or whatever and get the 2 chapters.
Oh,
Excellent.
wonderful. Yes.
Excellent,
LisaWinston.com.
Lisa A. Winston, because Lisa Winston, the bodybuilder, stole my URL.
Oh,
Oh,
Ah, okay. Well, bless her.
that's brilliant. Well, Lisa, it's been such a pleasure to have you here. Like, thank you. Honestly,
I'm
thank
hugging
you.
all
Thank
3 of
you.
I'm
it's
so
been-
hugging you back.
And
Yes.
how nice.
Thank
Big
you.
hugs,
you.
big
Thank
hugs.
you. You guys are a gift, and I'm really grateful that we shared this time together. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
us too. Honestly, like
Thank
it's
you.
actually one of the, and like the ladies had said, the authenticness from yourself, just being real about what life is about, really, and not
Yes,
just making
yes.
it all like pretty and roses. And oh, I love that.
Love it, love it.
But it'll be
Well, thank you
beautiful.
so much.
Yes, thank
We
you.
hope to
We'll be
have you
happy to
back
see
one
again.
time.
Yeah, hopefully we'll
Yes.
have you back again. Yes.
Come back anytime.
I love it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much,
joining us,
Lisa.
Guys.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone,
See you
for joining
later.
us. Yes.